probably help if we had the microphone on. We're going to be live in 15 seconds here. If you want to call in and chat with us, please do. 520-790-2040.
Credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The following is paid for by WJSC LLC. The host is solely responsible for its content. Opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and not necessarily those of Bustos Media or its sponsors. Time now for the Tucson Tasty Show with fresh cuts by your host, Wesley Soares.
Yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy and I feel like I'm loving you.
Welcome to the Tucson Tasty Show. I'm your host, Wesley Soares, here in studio with some amazing guests today. And before we get started with that, this show would not be possible without our amazing sponsors. Thank you to Kiki Rogers of Country Financial Insurance, Vera Earl Premium Beef, Dirty Cactus Soap, Novus Vita, and Mafia Kitchen. Don't forget to subscribe and share for everybody out there in on YouTube. Again, that's the Tasty Show 520, and you can see us live in studio and get some behind the scenes. And yeah, so we're here today with Michael of Harbottle Brewing Company, and we're going to talk about what it is to take, or what it takes to open a brewing company, but also to get into some of these amazing things. But before we do that, we just got back from Vegas with the Bar and Restaurant Expo. We got to follow around some of the amazing chefs from Tucson, and we're really looking forward to all that content. And you can find that on our Facebook page, and that is the Tucson Tasty Show. And we're going to be posting that out to Instagram as well. Same, the Tucson Tasty Show. And listen wherever podcasts you want to listen to are. All right. So how you doing today, Michael?
I'm doing great.
Do you prefer Mike or Michael?
Either one.
Okay.
Most people call me Mike. My
Mike?
family, I've always been Mikey. There's so many Michaels in my family.
So we'll just call you Mike.
Just Mike is
All right.
good. Yeah.
Because I'm not a part of your family yet, but we have another 45 minutes or so, maybe.
By the end of it, for sure.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me in today.
Thank you for coming in. It's my pleasure. And your beers are so incredible that I had to bring you in. But then you also serve pizza, and we're going to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Well, flatbreads?
Yeah, flatbread pizzas.
There we go. So tell us a little bit about Harbottle, where you located to start out.
So we are kind of midtown. People kind of get the idea that we're in the middle of nowhere. We're located on the southwest corner of Palo Verde and Ajo, right near the swap meet. Our neighbor is Chopsticks right there. We've been there just over 6 years.
Wow.
And ever since they finished the aviation extension, we're literally a 7-minute drive from downtown. We're super close to downtown Tucson.
That's awesome. Well, it's really accessible from the freeway as well. So it's not like you're in the middle of town, because
Right.
when everybody's in the middle of town, I mean, I can tell you a couple breweries that it's hard to get to because it takes forever to go through all the stoplights and everything else in Tucson, but we won't get into that. That's another subject, right?
Yeah, it's really nice. We're only like a half mile from I-10.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are the closest brewery to the airport, which has been really lovely for us. We get a lot of people with a couple-hour layover, and we get people walking in several times a week with a ton of luggage, and we're like, oh yeah, you can just put it in the corner, you're fine. And they'll come out, have a couple of beers before catching their next flight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you walk into Harbottle, I mean, it's quite the atmosphere. I mean, you got it opens up, you've got a couple little seating areas, you got a couple tables, and you have the bar, and then you have TVs. And is that just who you are, and you just kind of built out the space, or how did you come up with that kind of atmosphere?
That I'll give 100% credit to my wife. In the months and years even leading up to opening the brewery,
right?
We both spent a lot of time on Pinterest, and so constantly pinning things and sending them to each other of like just ideas that we aesthetically liked for the brewery. We were looking to try to create a place that was very warm and inviting, and hopefully accomplish that.
Yes, you did. And the dog is definitely an addition, because every once in a while, is that your dog that's in there?
No, my dog is a jerk. He doesn't come to the brewery with me.
Oh, okay.
I love him to death, but he's a little too excited. But yeah, there's a couple regular dogs that come in and hang out and
Just a
enjoy
good
some
environment.
time.
You know,
Yes,
kick
it really
back
is.
and relax and enjoy. And so, tell us a little bit about the historical context regarding Captain John Harbottle's life, because that's what the brewery's named after, right?
Yes, we're named after John Harbottle.
Tell us a little bit about that and what the significance is for you in regards to the brewery.
Okay, so John Harbottle was a young sailor in the British Navy, late 1700s, and he was sailing on a ship called the HMS Jackal in the South Pacific. And one of the expeditions, he was part of a lot of Captain Cook's expeditions, and they would often stop in the Hawaiian Islands for rest, resupplying, more rest. It's Hawaii, so who wouldn't want to stop there? And one of the times that the ships had stopped in Hawaii, there was a massive civil war taking place. Hawaii, the nation of Hawaii, had not yet been formed, so every island had its own chief that ruled that island, and there was one chief in particular that was really fighting to unify the islands, and during the Civil War, and John Harbottle got mortally wounded just by happenstance, and he ended up being taken in by a Hawaiian native woman who I cannot pronounce her name, but she was the Papunapu Apu. I don't know. My mother would kill me if I should know our own family history. But she was the high chiefess to one of the kings, or chiefs, I should say. And she nursed him back to health, and they ended up creating a bond, and they fell in love. And the chief found out that, John Harbottle had access to a lot of English military artillery, 8-pound cannons and muskets and those kinds of things. So the chief said, well, hey, maybe we could strike up a deal here. And he kind of became a military strategist and almost an arms dealer for the chief. And he ended up helping that chief win the Civil War. That chief was King Kamehameha I.
Okay.
So he became crowned the very first king of Hawaii, and kind of for all of the help that John Harbottle had given, he was like, well, you seem to love my daughter. She loves you. Why don't you all get married? And so he was married into the royal family, became part of the nobility. He was the first non-native white person, I guess, living on the islands permanently. And he became the royal bearer of crowns to the king. He became the king's port pilot. And virtually ever since that first Harbottle until the last queen in the 1940s.
Okay. Wow. That is a rich history.
It's a very rich history.
So did he live out his life on the islands then?
So he did. He lived out his life on the islands. Most Harbottles did. When during the war, when the United States government came in and said, we're taking Hawaii, we need it. A lot of the Harbottle land was just taken by the U.S. government. I'm not trying to talk bad. It's not a political thing. This is just what happened. This is just what happened.
We're just talking history right now.
And so they remain. There's still Harbottles that remain in Hawaii to this day that are descendants from John Harbottle. I actually, a few years back, met a guy from Canada that he came to the brewery. And he looked exactly like one of my uncles. And his last name was Harbottle. I'm like, we gotta be. Turns out, yeah, he's my second cousin. And I was like, I'm like, I'm related to John Harbottle. He's like, I'm related to John Harbottle, and I'm like, you're a spitting image of my uncle. We have to be closely related. So it's kind of fun.
Fair enough. So, what inspired? So there's some family connection there.
Yes,
so I'm sure that's part of what inspired you to name the brewery after Captain Harbottle, right?
Yes, yeah. At the time, he was the first mate of the Jackal. He became captain of a ship called the Lilybird shortly after his time in Hawaii.
So ultimately, I mean, how does the legacy resonate with your brand?
I mean, we try not to get too like tiki themed about things. We don't really embrace like. I mean, I do embrace the Hawaiian culture. I identify myself as a Pacific Islander, despite my very pale complexion. So I do like. I love that rich history. There is so much of Hawaiian history that is just a oral history. There's not a lot that was ever written down, and there's a story in my family that. A lot of the wealth of the family. We had one of the Harbottle descendants was quite the drinker, quite the gambler, and lost our entire family fortune essentially in a poker game at a bar.
Oh boy!
And joking around, my parents and I thought it would be funny what if we restarted a new legacy with the Harbottle name and hopefully regain back our legacy and have something that's timeless. And that was kind of the joke behind it.
Well, beautiful. So we're gonna come back and we're gonna hear more about the legacy and how you've developed some of the tastiest beers and sours in the market. But before we go out, another special thank you to our amazing sponsors. I'm Wesley Source, host of the Tucson Tasty Show. We'll be right back with more of Michael with Harbottle Brewing Company. Special thanks to our sponsors, Kiki Rogers of Country Financial Insurance, Vero Premium Beef, Dirty Cactus Soap, Novus Vita, Mafia Kitchen, and Stay Tasty Tucson. What we'll do is we kick back a little bit, but we're still live on Facebook and YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, Facebook
Somewhere.
and YouTube.
We're somewhere.
Yeah, and you can say whatever you want now because this is essentially the behind the scenes. Try to keep it but how do you feel about that?
This isn't a podcast. I'll keep it PG.
Well, that's the whole point. Yeah.
Oh well, I'll keep it PG.
Can recover broadcasts. Oh, come on. You can do it. These are all my commercials. Oh, Novus Vita. So it was pretty much conversational. That's what we try to do here. And you're doing great. How do you feel?
Loving it.
Yeah.
Having a great time.
Good.
So I don't get shy. I worked behind a bar a lot of years, and I used to be such an introvert, and now it's like, man, I'm behind the bar all the time. I learned. I faked it till I made it, kind of thing, and talking to all kinds of people, and now it's second nature.
Yep, pretty much. So this is going to go through to a hard break at I think it's 3:28 and a half. But he'll have a countdown. We get down to about 30 seconds. I'll cut in and go to the break.
Cool.
There we go.
Source on 1030 The Voice.
Yummy, 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 I got love.
Welcome back to the Tucson Tasty Show. I'm your host, Wesley Source, and we're here in studio with Mike of Harbottle Brewing Company. That was a good break.
Yeah.
Everybody at home that's watching on YouTube and Facebook got some inside information there and behind the scenes, which is pretty cool. If you get a chance, go check it out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and repeat. And that's the Tucson Tasty Show on Facebook and the Tasty Show 52 on YouTube. It will be up there for posterity until the end of time, maybe, or until YouTube dissolves, one of the two, which will probably be the end of time, right? But welcome back and special thanks to our amazing sponsors, Kiki Rogers of Country Financial Insurance, Vero Premium Beef, Dirty Cactus Soap, Mafia Kitchen, and Novus Vitas. All right, so Michael, we were talking about, or Mike, sorry. Michael, whatever comes out, I guess. But the beard guy. It works.
Yes.
The bearded beard guy. You gotta get that license real quick.
I know, yeah, for sure. I can't shave it off. I grew it shortly after COVID. March 17th, 2020 was the last day I shaved, and it's become a brand. And I wish I could get rid of it, but now I can't.
Need stickers, something like our logo here, except it's just your glasses.
My face is on a T-shirt.
Oh, perfect.
It's yeah. It's weird seeing weird seeing your face on other people you don't know walking around Tucson. It's kind of humorous.
I understand that, but it's my logo more than anything else. Anyways, not my face yet, and hopefully never. But who knows? So when we left off, we were talking about the history of the name of Harbottle, Captain Harbottle, John Harbottle, and how you're related to him. So he's your uncle?
He is my 7-time great uncle. So he would be the son-in-law to King Kamehameha the First.
Right. And that's kind of how we got to the name for Harbottle.
Yes.
And the connection you shared with us a little bit on the break. Are you willing to share with the rest of our audience?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So what exactly were we sharing?
Why did you name it the Harbottle?
So it originally came out. There's like I was telling you, so much of Hawaiian history is an oral history.
Right.
And there's a story in my family that after Hawaii, the nation of Hawaii was dissolved, the Harbottles lost a lot of their land. And what they did have left went to one of our great uncles who loved the drink and loved to gamble, and lost most of, if not all of our family's land and their fortune to a game of poker. And we were joking around, my parents and I, about well, our family lost our legacy in a pub, so wouldn't it be kind of funny if we built a new legacy by starting a new pub?
That's brilliant, and it's wholesome and organic. I like
it. Is, yeah, it was fun. And so it's been a confusing name over the years for sure, but it's still been fun and we love it.
Absolutely. And so getting back into it a little bit, could you elaborate on the story of I know we talked about all that. How do you ensure that the narrative surrounding Captain John's Harbottle life remains authentic despite the humorous retelling often associated with the drunk history?
Oh, yeah. So the drunk history is a funny thing. While entirely historically accurate, we love sharing our story. When you come into the brewery, there's actually a family lineage. There's a little family tree that kind of dates back all the way to John Harbottle. And, we love telling that story and keeping it alive. Like I said, so much of this is an oral history. If you were to Google John Harbottle, it's hard to find anything on him. It's very difficult.
Yes, it was.
And my mother is really big into family history, and she will, she's gone back on family, on all sides of family, generations and generations, searching birth records, marriage records, baptismal records, and really pieced together a lot through other family members to find out what is really the story. Because like I said, you Google John Harbottle and you don't get a lot. And so the best way we try to preserve it is just to share it. And one of the funny ways we share it is on some of our cans. My wife has a great retelling that she was telling someone the story, and had a few drinks, and we did a little drunk history version, and on the can it's almost verbatim and of what she said, and it's humorous, it's tongue-in-cheek, but all entirely historically accurate.
Beautiful.
I encourage you just to go find a can of our beer, even if you don't want to buy it and drink it. Just pick it up and read the story. It's hilarious.
Where can we find that?
You can find our beer at most, if not all, craft beer places in town. You can find it at Arizona Beer House, is one of our biggest supporters. Tap and Bottle, Tucson Hop Shop, Total Wine from now and then. To find it in package, Roy's Liquor Store. Any place you're going to find good craft beer in Tucson, you can usually find our cans.
Outstanding. Or you can come to the brewery.
The best place to find it is come directly to the source. We always appreciate that, and we have those available to the brewery.
Outstanding. Perfect. So in what ways does the rich history of Captain John Harbottle's influence the ethos and directions of the brewery?
It's
directions. One of the two. I can speak, I promise.
Again, we really strive just to tell people our story. We want to keep that story alive, and hopefully if enough people hear it, enough people know it, we can, because I guess there's not a whole lot written down. And so our bartenders all know the story. They've told it so many times, and we like just keeping that tradition of oral history alive.
Right. Can you shed some light on the ongoing efforts to research and we talked about that too, man. You're covering all this stuff.
I tend to ramble on, so I can
Go for it.
but I can go in a lot of different directions at once.
So let's start talking about some of the varieties that you have in the brewery. So with some of the varieties, well, let's talk about the pickles.
So this is our newest addition to our lineup. We came out a little over a year ago, and it started off. My daughter is in the Air Force. She's stationed in San Antonio, and my wife and I would go to Texas a lot to visit her. And pickle beer is a very big thing in Texas. There's a huge Polish community, especially around the San Antonio, Austin area, right between New Braunfels, Texas, big Polish community. And pickle beers are just huge. And every time we would go to Texas, we'd have friends like, oh, bring us back some of that pickle beer. And I would load my truck up with cases of pickle beer. And after like our third or fourth drive out to Texas, my wife looks at me and goes, what are we doing? Like we own a brewery. We can make pickle beer. Right. And so we started off, and my business partner fought me tooth and nail. He thought it was the dumbest idea. He's like, this is going to bomb. No one's going to want it. And we started off making just a very simple sour beer recipe. And I went down to a local restaurant supply store and bought buckets and buckets and buckets of pickles. And I had no idea what to do, how to add them in the process, where to add them in the process. And we started making this pickle beer, and we canned about 99% of it because we figured no one's going to buy a keg of this stuff. Right. And we sold out in 24 hours. And
24
hours.
Just gone.
Yeah, 40 cases of beer just gone.
Goodness.
And so we brewed it again.
Right.
And same thing. And so eventually we ended up partnering with Mrs. Klein's Pickles up in Phoenix to formulate a recipe with them and to get better access to a locally sourced pickle. And,
almost.
Well,
close.
Well, local Arizona. If there was a pickle manufacturer in Tucson, we would have gone to them.
Understood.
Sure. And this beer has become just an unstoppable phenomenon. It is leaps and bounds our bestseller above anything else. And who would have thought? Incredible. It's like pickle beer was the one beer that got us noticed.
So, and that's actually, it kind of goes into, so sours are kind of up and coming with a lot of the younger people getting introduced, and, the lighter drinks that are out there, and we won't name any on the air because they're not paying me yet, but some of the seltzers and other things as well.
Sure.
So, I mean, when you're talking about a pickle beer, how do you go about, you're not talking about taking a pickle and putting it in the wort, right?
Pretty much. So our process, we kind of keep it a little bit of a secret. Any brewers out there will know exactly how we do it. It does get added to the wort. And we are buying a specially made brine from Mrs. Klein's that they formulate for us.
Low acidity, I'm sure, so you don't kill off the yeast or anything.
No, so it's very acidic.
Really?
And so it actually goes in post fermentation. So there's the big secret. I'm terrible at keeping secrets. It goes in at post fermentation. So that way we're not killing off the yeast, because adding vinegar and spices and all, it's going to wreak havoc on fermentation for
Absolutely.
Sure. And so it starts off as a very sour kettle sour, to which we ferment out and then add our special brine to it.
So when you're developing that flavor, it's got to be, the base has to be pretty simple, so you don't ruin kind of the complexities, or do you go with something that's a little bit more hearty? So, and before you answer, when I'm making like a pumpkin beer, because I brew, or I used to brew all the time, but I need to get back into it maybe because my wife loves the pumpkin beer that I make. But I literally take a whole pumpkin and roast it. Actually, there's like 4 or 5 pumpkins that I roast, and then I throw it in the wort, and then it's all get filtered out when we after we chill the wort, and we're pouring it in to start the fermentation and pitching. And I just put out a whole bunch of information that a lot of people are like, what did you just say?
But there's some beer nerds out there going, oh yeah, they're taking notes.
But I actually pour a whole bunch of pumpkin spice on the pumpkins because you get that authentic like pumpkin pie when you bite into it
Yeah.
because you get the all the grain flavor that you get from from the wort, and then
Yeah.
you get the pumpkin notes, and then you get a little bit of pumpkin spice. So the whole goal is to actually bite into it like a pumpkin pie, kind of like the smell that I have for my freshies. This is pumpkin pie. Or that's not pumpkin pie. That's apple pie
Smells
from Dirty
delicious.
Cactus Soaps, and the whole goal is to get it so you're like you get that mouth water because it smells like a traditional pumpkin pie.
Yeah, I want to take a bite of that.
Yeah, or apple pie. But and as a happenstance, we got these when it was still hot outside. So you hang it in your car, and you open up your car door, and you get hit with that like hot apple pie smell.
Oh man.
And it just nobody doesn't want to get in my car. But it's got to be pretty similar to that. And I think we'll touch on that a little bit more after this this hard break that we're coming
Yeah,
into.
for sure.
But a couple of quick notes.
Okay.
I mean, just a tease for the next segment. Go ahead.
So this beer does start off as a kettle sour, and it is very, very sour. Is where we start the process, and from there we add our secret ingredients to it. But it's pretty much a very simple grain bill. We want to keep everything out of the way of the pickles.
Mhm.
Like your pumpkin beer. We want it to be. You are drinking a dill pickle. Like we want it to be the true experience. We don't want it to be like, oh, it tastes like pickle a little bit. I get pickle notes. This is carbonated pickle juice. Make no mistake.
Well, when we come back, I'm going to review that because you've let me try both of the ones that you have. I don't know if you have another one, but a quick thank you to our amazing sponsors. I'm Wesley Source, your host for the Tucson Tasty Show. We'll be right back with more from Mike with Harbottle Brewing Company. Thank you, Kiki Rogers, Country Financial Insurance Bureau, Premium Beef, Dirty Cactus Soap, Mafia Kitchen, and the Novus Vitas.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute.
All right. So, yeah, perfect. I think we're really getting into it. And I didn't think I thought I was going to have trouble stretching out talking about beer, but you know what? Getting into some of the brewing that I did, I think
if you get me going, let me tell you, I can just ramble and ramble. So
perfect. Hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, friend, follow, share, and repeat. And that's disappointing.